Welcome everyone to our diabetes wellness webinar today. Very excited to introduce Tracy Taylor. She is a registered dietitian nutritionist, CDCES or certified diabetes care and education specialist, as well as CYT, certified yoga teacher, and ACE-GFI or American Council on Exercise Group Fitness instructor. So she's going to give a really exciting presentation today on yoga and diabetes. And she currently works as a registered dietitian nutritionist for a variety of family and specialty practices through Stanford Medical Partners. Tracy has a strong desire to help people achieve wellness through healthy plant-based eating combined with realistic and sustainable physical activity and self-care routines. She has been a dietitian and CDCES for over 25 years and a fitness instructor for over 15 years. And today, she wants to help you create a healthier body and mind through yoga. So take it away, Tracy. Excited for your presentation.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for that introduction. And I also want to thank the entire amazing Stanford Diabetes team for inviting me back to share this presentation and for all the wonderful work that you do on a daily basis. Today, I'm super excited to share my passion for yoga and health. Besides a healthy diet and adequate sleep and stress management, movement, in my opinion, is medicine. Movement is improvement for our health. And I think yoga is a wonderful way to combine not just the physical aspects, but some of the other things that we'll see that can really benefit diabetes. So I would like to know you a little bit more. So we're going to launch a poll and get some feedback. So we all have an understanding of maybe where we are in our practice. I personally have been practicing yoga since college and then took some time off, and I've been intensely practicing for the last decade or so. So I'd love to hear what your experiences are. So Catherine, can you put the first question up there?
All right, first question is launched.
We've got those votes and polls coming in. So it looks like some other people have taken time off from yoga and done it in the past, but not currently. So we'll give it another second to vote. And what I'm seeing is about 31% of you have never practiced yoga. So welcome to your first session. We've got about 60% have practiced in the past, but not currently. And we have about a little over 10% who are doing the yoga 1 to 3 times a week. So thank you so much for that. And now I've got 2 more questions for you, and then we'll go ahead and move forward. Catherine, could you put up the second poll question, please? So the yoga philosophy believes blank to be the most important facet of health. All right, looks like those votes are coming in. We'll give it another couple of seconds here. Beautiful. All right, so I see about 64% of you believe it's breathing, about 32% flexibility, and 1 for prayer. And we'll get to what the answer is in just a moment. But first, let's do our final and last question. So there was a meta-analysis. In other words, they looked at a whole bunch of 28 studies, and they found that people with type 2 diabetes who began a yoga practice average a reduction of hemoglobin A1C about 1%. Just for perspective, that is the amount that close to the amount of reduction that metformin, one of the most common diabetes medicines for type 2, achieves. All right, and we'll shut down the poll, and about 80% say it's true and about 20% false. And we're going to take a look at that and more. So thank you so much, Catherine, for sharing that. We are going to explore a few slides now, which will discuss what yoga is, what does the research show us, what are the benefits of yoga for diabetes, and then I'll talk about some precautions and things to think about and share with you some resources so that you have that for future reference. And then I'll get to join together in a practice. So I really appreciate your spending your precious time and energy with me this evening. I know it might have been a long day for a lot of us, so let me start this screen share here and give me one moment while I make this adjustment. And of course, this is right in the way of where I need to do my screen share. Hold on a second here. Here we go. I think I'm almost there. All right, let's start at the beginning. So, welcome to Yoga for Diabetes. My name is Tracy, and we've gone over the polling question. Thank you so much for your participation. And just to kind of talk about what yoga is, the word in Sanskrit means to join, to yoke, to unite. And it's basically an awareness of synchronizing breath with movement. There are actually 8 limbs of yoga. And in the West, we tend to focus on 2, which is the asanas, which is the movements, the postures, and the pranayama, which is the breathing techniques, and then often meditation at the end of the session. But there's a whole lot more to it than that. But tonight, we're going to focus on those 2 limbs. And with the question that was asked earlier, it's just combining moving and breathing and awareness. So you can do that really anywhere. You could do it in a tiny little space. You don't need any equipment. You could practice standing. You could do practices on your back on the floor. You could sit in a chair. They even do it on paddle boards. I'm not quite ready for that. The nice thing about yoga is there's many, many different forms. So there's everything from chair yoga to yoga nidra, which is a very restorative yoga, to really fitness, vigorous forms of yoga. It's not a one size fits all. And at different stages of your life or different stages of where you are in the world that day, you may practice different forms. And the great thing about it is it does not need to be intensive to reap a lot of the benefits to help you manage your stress and your blood sugar. So I enjoy that about the practice. You definitely don't need to be flexible. I know when I used to teach in a lot of gyms, people go, I can't take yoga because I can't bend. I don't want to look like a pretzel. If you can breathe and move within your range of motion, you too can do yoga. If you at any time feel any pain or major discomfort, then you want to pull back. Okay, listen to your body. That's always number 1. Don't try to imitate a pose. Try to think about what that's feeling like, and that's really will help you get started and continue on. Now, yoga instructors generally tell people not to eat before taking a yoga class because sometimes when we're doing bends and twists, it doesn't feel comfortable if your belly is full. Yet, if you have diabetes and take a medication like insulin or other medications that can cause a low or hypoglycemic reaction, then you might want to consider a light snack before your workout to avoid a low blood sugar. Tonight's going to be a very gentle, easy practice, but keep that in mind should you do a longer or more intensive practice especially. Now, what does the research show us? So first of all, we could look back through all sorts of texts that is based on thousands of years of yoga being practiced and see that there are health benefits. But here in the West, we love to have our studies I love researching studies, and I was very excited this year to see that there's been even some newer studies done. So the three that I found that are meta-analysis, looking at a lot of different studies that were well done, describe the benefit of yoga for people with type 2 diabetes. All three, I know this says both, sorry, I didn't update that part, but all three found improvements in fasting and after meal blood glucose, A1C, and body mass index. There's been many studies to also show that yoga can be beneficial in lowering blood pressure, improving cholesterol profiles, enhancing lung function, mood, sleep, and quality of life, all which are really important. And if you want to look at any of these, I will include references if you want to check those out. The latest study by Sonogo et al. Looked at 28 studies, and they looked at all sorts of mind-body practices, including Qigong, meditation alone, yoga, and they found that overall it was about a 0.84 reduction in A1C, but yoga showed about a 1% reduction. So shows the power of moving as well as the breathing and meditation. And why? Why does it cause effect? Well, it really has an influence on almost every system of our body, from respiratory to digestive to neurological to cardiovascular to endocrine systems. It improves the metabolic activity. This is like a super busy slide, but it's got beautiful colors, so why not enjoy it for a moment? And it's just showing that there are effects on many different parts of the body. And sometimes, you know, especially in medicine, we have parts, you know, we have specialists and we got parts, but we're one. And so what affects one place in our body can often affect another. And I love that there's so many different factors here. So don't worry about, you know, memorizing or wondering what on earth cholecystokinin is. Just recognize that yoga practice can affect many different systems in our body. So you might have caught on that I said type 2 diabetes specifically. And the sad news is there is a lack of studies done on type 1 and 1.5. You know, I tried doing a good literature search and didn't really find anything. And then I finally found one study that's going to be looking at 88 people with type 1 diabetes, but it's underway. So there's no data yet, there's no conclusion, but I was very excited to see that at least that's being looked at. That said, because we see that yoga has effects on so many different parts of our body, I'm going to borrow from Rachel Zinman, and she does have LADA or type 1 diabetes and is a registered yoga therapist. So that's like the PhD postdoc level of yoga instructors. And she does feel very strongly that there's a lot of potential benefits of yoga for both type 1 and 1.5 in addition to type 2. She states that discipline equals freedom. And, you know, with diabetes management, aren't there many, many times of frustration and distraction and fear? And as we practice yoga, poses, there are moments that might feel uncomfortable or maybe make us unsure, unsteady, yet we learn to focus, breathe through it, and persevere. And over time, we could notice growth and strength. And I think that marries well to how we may approach our diabetes management. The second point is learning to release what we cannot control. I find that many people with diabetes, understandably, have a need for control. And yoga can help us learn to let go of perfection and expectations and things that are beyond our control so that we can move forward. So again, I think that translates well. And then lastly, yoga can help support a growth mindset and mindful food choices. So unlike many other exercises, you know, which I find are fun and are very useful for our health, we get the music, we're not paying attention as much. Yoga really forces us in a sense, to be present and go inward. And that can help with a growth mindset. And I think that leads to wanting to nourish our body, mind, and spirit with what we deserve and what we need. So if you want to look at more of this study, I will include a reference, but even though there hasn't been a lot of research, I think it can help, yoga can help all sorts of diabetes. We know that deep focused breath, stretching, strengthening muscles, and non-judgmental awareness are important components. When we switch back and forth among poses or asanas, it contracts and relaxes specific areas, and that helps provide more oxygenated blood flow to cells and organs. So we know with the digestion, this can help nourish that area, get rid of toxins there, and you're also using glucose. So that's one way it's affecting your blood sugar. Stretching can help release endorphins, and it makes you feel good. And when we feel good, it's easier to take care of ourselves and helps downplay some of the stress, because doesn't stress affect your blood sugar? I know some people just have pretty tremendous impacts when stress gets away from them. But consistent practice, especially the pranayama, the yogic breathing, can help reduce stress because it relaxes the sympathetic nervous system. And that helps reduce glucagon release. And glucagon is a hormone that raises up the glucose levels in our bloodstream. And reducing stress can improve insulin action, therefore helping to manage the blood sugar. So lots of different aspects coming in to help us manage the diabetes. And then because, yes, I am a dietitian, nutrition is at the heart of what I love. In addition to the yoga poses, the breathing exercises and meditation segment can help with emotional eating. And people have reported a decreased craving for sweets and an ease with mindful eating when they practice, especially the breathing techniques. And I just want to give a big plug. If you don't know about the many wonderful wellness seminars that have been presented over the last few years, I invite you to go back. There's some great ones on mindful eating and just a plethora of information on diabetes. So go check out some of the other programs. But for right now, let's focus more on yoga and all its wonderful benefits. And at the same time, honor that there could be some precautions to be aware of. So with complications of diabetes, you want to be aware of a few things. We're going to quickly go through some of these right now. The ones in green are going to be modifications. So if you have heart disease or high blood pressure defined as over like 140 over 90, there's a few things to keep in mind. Begin with a gentle practice and work up to a moderate level, and avoid a vigorous practice. If you have low blood pressure because there's some kind of autonomic nerve issues, then you know what it's like to stand up too quickly. So a gentle to moderate practice using chair yoga, using slow transitions. So if you're getting from a seated to a standing position, or if you're on your back and you're coming to sit up, really taking your time, making sure we don't rush through it, avoid moving quickly between postures. For peripheral neuropathy, damage to the nerves, especially in the feet, you may want to practice with soft shoes or sneakers to protect the feet. And something like a chair yoga or poses that you do on your back on a mat could be helpful. Being really aware of practicing, avoiding practice barefoot or prolonged standing postures if you have impaired sensation or if you're experiencing pain. Peripheral vascular disease, the problems with blood flow to the lower legs. Again, chair yoga, gentle to moderate practices that focus on seated postures and moving carefully are important. And again, avoiding those prolonged standing postures. Retinopathy or eye issues. we want to do poses that keep our eyes above our heart. So we want to avoid a lot of forward folds where our head is hanging down below our heart or waist. And again, gentle practice, making sure that we breathe well through this. And especially if you have high blood pressure or retinopathy, keep that breathing going, and avoid postures where your head is below your heart. And then lastly, low blood sugar. If you're taking a medication that could cause hypoglycemia, starting off your practice with a blood sugar over 100, and then having available a fast-acting glucose source in case you need it, like a small glass of juice or some glucose tablets or gel. So those are just some precautions. So nothing major. And then, we might have other things like frozen shoulders or a wacky knee or other things that may require modification. The beautiful thing is, I believe anyone can practice yoga. So if you want more opportunities to practice, I have some resources for you. There are a number of free videos. I put 4 here that you can take a look at that are more geared toward yoga with diabetes. Some are super fast, others are about a half hour in length. So that's one option. Catherine, I don't know, could we drop those in the chat box maybe?
So we can definitely have them on the health library. So when it's posted online or on YouTube on the captions, we can definitely include those.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. There's also a free blog by Rachel Zinman, Yoga for Diabetes blog. If you're new to yoga, because a lot of you seem like you're new, there's a good app that you might want to try. And then there's a couple of books. Rachel wrote one called Yoga for Diabetes, and then Annie BK, along with one of her physician cohorts, she's a fellow dietitian and registered yoga therapist, wrote one on yoga and diabetes. So I'm going to take a look at the one question that's been asked, which is a great question. So what's the problem with having my head below my heart? And it has to do with the pressure and the blood flow and the pressure of the blood flow. If you have a lot of little vessel damage to your eye, or if your body doesn't respond well to postural changes with that autonomic neuropathy. So for safety's sake, so you don't end up passing out or creating extra pressure in the little blood vessels, that's why we make the recommendation to limit the head below the heart. So I hope that helped. And I will just take a moment and see if there's any other questions while I stop the share of the screen. So if you have one, you could either ask now or you could ask when we are done with our practice. So let me get out of this and come back and move carefully the computer. I know when I did this a couple of years ago, I actually dropped my computer during this portion. So we're going to try not to have a repeat of this. This is a shirt I was given by my niece, and I wanted to wear this tonight just to help us remember that our most important thing tonight in practicing yoga is to inhale and exhale, not hold our breath, keep it flowing. And please don't feel like don't get too hung up tonight, especially if this is new to you, about should I be inhaling now or exhaling? Just keep breathing. That's the big thing. So without further ado, let's get started. A couple of things to keep in mind is if you feel comfortable doing all of this in a chair, I invite you to do so. If your feet don't reach the floor, you can always use like a rolled up mat or towel or pillow or textbook or yoga block so that when you sit down, your feet can firmly touch the ground. If you tend to to slump or have back issues, sometimes if you're in a seated position, it is nice to put a towel or a blanket or a rolled up mat under your glutes to raise your hips up, and that could be a little bit more comfortable for people too. So just want to say that could be helpful. But right now, I will give you a moment if you want a sip of water, if you want to, get comfortable in any way. I'd invite you to keep your shoes off so that you do have bare feet if you're okay with that. I've got yoga socks on because my feet tend to get cold. And we're going to start standing or seated. So once you come to your decision about whether you want to sit or stand, I'm going to invite you to press into all four corners of your feet. What do I mean by that? So starting with the outside of your heel, feel the floor, and then feel the floor on the bottom of your big toe joint, like the ball of that section. And then let's focus on the inside of the heel and then on the ball joint of the little toe, so that you feel this connection with the ground. Next, I want you to think about activating your legs, maybe engaging your thigh muscles so that you feel almost a pulling up of energy from the ground. And then let's go ahead and take our hip points and think about them as little headlights, pointing them forward, and that's going to allow our tail to reach down towards the ground so that we can maintain that nice neutral spine. And then I'm going to ask you to just relax your shoulders, arms, and hands. If you want to soften your eyes or even close your eyes, you can. Sometimes that's a little tricky for balance. If you're in the chair, that's not going to be so much of an issue. But find a place to have a soft focus, and then just simply start to notice your breath. So we're going to be here for a minute or so, focusing on the breath. Maybe you want to give yourself a nice inhale and roll your shoulders up, and then roll them down the back so you feel your shoulder blades slipping down the back. Maybe you want to take your palms forward, opening and feeling a nice expansion across the chest. And try to think about your reason for being here tonight. Letting go of all that it took to get here and all that there is to follow. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling. And as thoughts come in, because they will, think about letting them float by. Maybe float by like you watch a cloud coming into your vision and then coming out. And return to focusing on the breath. Some people find it helpful to think about breathe in, breathe out, or inhale and exhale, going at your own pace. Now I'd like you to think about the breath, feeling the sensation as it enters your nostril, maybe noticing the temperature, how that feels, and imagine that you're drawing that breath deep down into your belly, and then letting that breath rise, feeling the rib cage expanding 360 degrees. You can feel the ribs going out to the sides, the back of the body expanding in the front. Perhaps on your next exhale, you think about drawing the belly up and in, feeling your strength and your power. And now starting to deepen that breath. Each exhale, letting go. Each inhale, providing life-giving breath and oxygen. And we'll take a couple more breaths here. And now maintaining the breath and maintaining your pose. Let's start to make little circles with our nose, letting our nose lead us, little circles. And then maybe a little bit larger circle, nice and slow. And then a little larger circle, warming up the cervical spine, the neck. And then we'll pause And we'll make big circles in the other direction, not forcing, gently and lovingly moving that head around, and then a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller yet. And then place the head back on. I'm trying to line up our shoulders, maybe activating our back muscles a little bit. We're going to inhale and look up towards the ceiling and exhale and drop the chin down. You feel a delicious stretch through the back of the neck. And then let your body follow your own breath. So you may go at my pace, you may go slower, you might go faster. Just noticing. Having that awareness of your breath, of how your body's moving this evening. We'll take it through one more rise and lowering, and then bring the head back to center. Next, let's go ahead and look over our right shoulder, not forcing, but just being curious what that feels like to get that stretch along the side of the neck. Inhaling back to center and exhaling over the other way. And let's do that one more time, moving at your pace. Noticing if your legs are starting to get tired. How easy your neck is, maybe being curious how you turn more to one side than the other. And now we're going to inhale our shoulders up towards our ears and let it out with a big sigh through your mouth. Big inhale up and down. Go at your own pace. Big inhale up, feeling those muscles working and relaxing down. And then let's roll it up and down a few more times. Beautiful. We're going to bend with soft knees and reach up now, maybe reaching up is to shoulder height, maybe reaching up is all the way towards the ceiling. And just notice how that feels. Relax the shoulders. Notice, did your ribs start to pop out? Bring them back in. Make sure your knees remain soft. Inhale and exhale here, and then let's lower it down. Bringing our hands to heart center, lifting our sternum or our chest to our thumbs. Let's do that one more time. Reaching your arms either out or all the way up and back down, hands by your side. We're going to bend even a little bit more at the knees. We're going to take a deep inhale and we're going to open up to the left. You can take it to cactus arms or you could reach your arms long. We're having a twist from above the navel. And then back to center and then over to the other side. Twists in yoga are really helpful for the digestion, for the pancreas, and we'll do it one more time to each side, twisting over to one side, not forcing, relaxing into it, lengthening through the crown of the head, coming back to center, and then one more time over to the right. And then back to center. And let's go ahead and take our arms out to the side, thumbs to the palm, curl the fingers over, and rotate through the wrists. Beautiful. Think about how your posture is. Do you still feel yourself on all four corners of the foot? And then reverse direction. If you're tired at any point, please come down to a chair. And then let's go ahead and drop our left arm and then reach our right arm up and over, coming into a nice side bend. So our knees stay soft, and we'll take a couple of breaths here, looking straight ahead, or maybe if your neck allows you to gaze up, keeping the shoulder away from the air. We'll take it to another big inhale and then exhale as we come back. And then raise up our other arm and take it over. And again, go to your range of motion. The goal here is not to stress, but to stretch, to feel that yummy sensation of like pulled taffy. And then back to center. Beautiful. We're going to practice a standing posture called Warrior 2 or Virabhadrasana B. And I'll give you a couple of options. You can do this in a chair. But I invite you, if you're feeling a little wonky with your balance and you don't want to do it in a chair, another alternative is to either stand by a desk, a raised surface, or turn your chair so the back is to you if you feel like you'd like some assistance with your balance. And then we're going to go ahead and take our feet to a width that feels comfortable and supported. And then we're going to see what happens to my body. When I'm starting to slump, I'm going to again engage my feet, and then from the ground up, I'm going to engage my legs. I'm going to lengthen through my tailbone, lift up on my hip points, bring my front ribs in, and I'm just going to take a couple of breaths right here. Beautiful. When you're ready, we're going to go ahead and take the foot that's close to the chair and turn it out 90 degrees or as close to that that your body feels comfortable with. And then we're going to take our back foot and bring the heel back so that that foot is at about a 45-degree angle. And we want our knee and our foot to be going in the same direction. Our hips are going to face forward and our shoulders are going to be over our hips. And I could be holding onto this chair right now if that feels comfortable. And then I'm going to slowly bend my knee. Now, how deep you go depends on where you are. We want to keep the knee over the ankle. So for me, I can go a little deeper, and that means I'm going to widen my stance a little bit so that my knee doesn't jut forward past my toes. And I'm engaging and I'm breathing. Once you feel comfortable here, maybe raise up your arm. And then if you're comfortable here, raise up your other arm. And then perhaps gaze over your middle finger, working to bring your knee towards the pinky side of your foot, and the whole leg goes with it. And you are now in your Warrior 2. You're strong. You're going to engage those back muscles, relax the shoulders down. And we're going to take 3 more breaths here. Deeply inhaling and exhaling. And we're using, I'm sure you could feel in your thighs, in your glutes, action happening, using your glucose levels, giving yourself strength. And that when we take those deep breaths, we're working on helping our nervous system. To come out, we could drop the hands down, straighten the front leg, turn the toes back in. Big inhale, big exhale. Beautiful. Let's balance ourselves out by coming to the other side. So I'm going to move my chair around so you don't have to watch my back. You could just simply turn around if you would like. And we'll start off by taking that stance one more time. We'll turn the toes 90 degrees in the front and 45 degrees in the back. Squaring up your hips and your shoulders. And make sure that you've got a little bit of space in between your feet. This way as well. When you're ready, we'll start to bend that knee, working on opening up, engaging, feeling your muscles, hugging your bones, and press into the outer edge of your back foot. So you feel this strength, this connection, this power, this engagement. Big inhale, maybe raise the other arm up, and maybe the front arm up as well. And gazing over that finger, we'll stay here for 3 breaths. Big inhale and exhale. Really feel that breath drawing deep into the belly, expanding through the rib cage, feeling with intention where your body is. Beautiful. When you're ready, dropping your hands, straighten the front leg, and then we'll slowly and carefully step together. I'm going to move my chair back. And then I'm going to invite us to take a deep inhale up and a big exhale down. Again, a big inhale up and big exhale down. And I'm going to invite everyone to have a seat. If you don't have a chair, that is okay. You're going to be able to do this standing as well, but I'll just demonstrate first in a chair. So same thing, we want to take our feet and ground them in all four corners. Feel an engagement of our legs. Feel our sit bones on the surface. And again, if you want to sit on something to raise up the hips, I invite you to do so. We'll place our hands on our thighs and we'll soften or close our eyes and we'll go back to focusing on that breath one more time. When you're ready, we'll slowly open the eyes, drop the hands to the side, relax the shoulders away, engage the belly, and then reach up as far as your body will allow. Beautiful. And then we're going to reach our heart up. Move your thumbs behind you and just lift through your heart, maybe gazing straight ahead or maybe up at the floor. I'm sorry, up at the ceiling. That's not a floor, that's the ceiling. Beautiful. And then we're going to forward fold. So again, remembering the precautions, I may just come down here if I've got retinopathy or blood pressure issues, or if none of those things bother you and your back is okay, you can come forward fold, relaxing the weight of the head. Inhale and exhale here. And then we're going to inhale. And as we lift up, we're going to grab one knee. Again, lift the heart. Exhale as we round forward. And then drop that knee down. Reaching up one more time with a light back bend. Forward fold to the place that works best for your body. Reach back up as we grab the other leg in. And then come to our back bend. Keeping the breath going. Lowering that leg. Taking in a deep inhale again. And a big exhale forward. So maybe I'm just coming here, keeping my head above the heart, or maybe I'm coming all the way down. And then we're going to take it back up, hands together, and to your heart. This is a modified, what we call like similar to a sun salutation in the chair. We'll run through that one more time. Or if you want to come to a standing position, we'll do a modification standing. And if you're an experienced yogi and also want to do this on the mat with no props, please feel free to do so. Sorry, I didn't say that earlier. And we'll start off again, finding our place, refocusing in on our breath. Planting the feet firmly on the floor, whether you choose to stay in the feet or whether you chose to do the standing. We'll again take a deep inhale up, coming to a light back bend. And as we forward fold, we're going to place our hands onto the chair, making like little starfish out of our fingers, relaxing our shoulders. We're going to inhale and exhale as we step back a little bit with each foot. And then we're going to come forward, lowering our hips and lifting our heart, coming into a modified upward dog. And then we're going to press back into our heels, creating a nice long back as we exhale into our plank. And then we're going to step 1 foot forward, and we'll either stay here in our lunge, or you can let go and reach on up, maybe cactusing the arms or reaching the arms long, or having the arms in front for a counterbalance, or holding onto the chair. And then we'll exhale down, step it back into our plank position. And then bring the other foot forward, coming into the lunge on the other side. Reaching the shoulders away from the ears, lifting through the heart. And then exhale forward, stepping back. One more yummy stretch here. Again, if you don't have issues, you can drop the head a little lower, getting more of a stretch through the shoulders. One more deep inhale and exhale. And then we'll step 1 foot forward and the other, and slowly come to a standing position, or if you're back on the chair, stay there. As we start to wind it down, we're going to practice 1 balance pose. So this is a nice time that you can hold on to the chair if you'd like for balance. You could also do this sitting in the chair, and it's going to be a tree pose where we're going to take 1 leg and plant it on the ground, and then we're going to turn out our other leg so we get a nice hip opener. So you can do this in the chair, or if you want to try it standing, we'll start off, hold on, by kickstanding your foot. So your heel's going to come close or onto the other leg, and we've turned out from the hip joint. This knee is soft, not locked out, and we feel a lengthening, again, planting that foot in a lengthening through the body. We can stay here with our hands on our hips. If you would like to, you could bring that foot up a little higher. Just make sure that foot doesn't jam into the knee. Or if you do this more often in your practice, you could bring it all the way up. Your hands could stay on your hips. Your hands could stay on the chair, or if you want, you could raise up into a full tree. Okay, so any of these positions work. It's an opening, a nice hip opener. Breathing. It's easy to want to hold your breath during some of these, but we're not going to do that. When you're ready, take it down, shake it out, and we're going to do the other side. And then we'll get a nice stretch to the back of the body. So we start off by finding our grounding of our foot into all 4 corners, engaging the leg, lifting out of the body, and then we'll kickstand. And this is a perfectly beautiful tree. Hands to heart, hands to hips, hands up, whatever feels good to you. I don't know what kind of tree you'd like to be right now. And we'll take another inhale and exhale here. When you're ready to come out of the pose, we'll drop the leg, we'll shake it out, and we're going to come into something called eagle arms. So let's be seated or standing. One version of this is to take your left hand to your right shoulder and your other arm crossed over, lift up on your elbows, and then we're going to make little circles here. So this should feel really good if you carry tension in your neck and your upper back. After you go through a few circles in one direction, we'll do it in the other. If you want to come into eagle arms, another step up, we'll take our arm bent at the elbow, cross the other arm over it, and then either the backs of the hands can come together, or some of you might be able to take your palms together. And again, we'll raise up the elbows, and again, we're gonna make those little circles. So if you're in the crossed over hand on shoulder, I invite you to just go back and do it another round, because this just feels really good after the end of the day. And then to even it out, we're gonna change the cross. So other arm comes on top, and we're gonna come around, lift the elbows, and make those circles as we continue to breathe, as we focus on relaxing the face muscles. So wherever you are, give yourself a few more rounds, and then drop your hands to the side. Let's go ahead and take the left ear over to the left shoulder. Gently pull away with the right arm. Big inhale and exhale. Inhale back to center, exhale over to the other side. Pull away with the left arm. Lovely. Inhale back to center, and let's just do a couple of neck rolls again. Starting to wind it down, softening through the muscles of the face, and take it around the other side as we get ready for our most important and final pose, Shavasana, or restful pose. You can do that seated in a chair. You could do that lying down on the floor on your back. Another really lovely thing to do at the end of the day, if you're able to get up and down off the floor easily, is to come down to the floor and then up against the chair and take your feet on the seat of the chair as we come down to our back. So I'm going to give you a moment to find a place that feels comfortable to you. I'm going to choose to do my Shavasana in a chair tonight, but please find a place that meets your needs for where you are at this particular moment, so you get that sense of ease. We're going to feel our feet on the ground, and we're going to come to a comfortable position. But instead of drawing our belly in, I want your belly to just relax. Just let it go. You can place your hands by your side if you're on your back, or you can place your hands gently on your lap. Maybe you'd like your palms down. Maybe you'd like your palms up. Maybe you want to experiment and see what feels good to you. And then I invite you to close your eyes, or at least soften your gaze. Let the muscles soften around your eyes, soften along your jaw. Relax the muscles in your neck. Relax your shoulders. And gently let your breath return to its normal rhythm. Noticing the sensations of your body. Acknowledging any thoughts that may come through. And let them float by. Just focusing on the breath and letting all the nutrients of your practice come together. And when you're ready, your eyes are closed. Slowly start to bat them open. And maybe taking a deep inhale and a big exhale. And then I'll invite you to take your arms outstretched And then hug in your hands towards your heart center. Taking in one more big breath together, and exhale as we bow our head. And give yourself thanks for taking this time to take care of you. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your willingness to attend, and if that was your first experience, I hope you found that to be helpful. I invite you to ask any questions that you might have as we wrap up. And let me check our
It looks like we do have some questions. So the first one is there a particular good time to do yoga, such as morning, or can it also be done at bedtime or any other time of the day?
yes. So it just depends on you and your life and what you might feel like at that moment. You know, some of us like to wake up and do yoga as the first thing that we do in the morning. Other people find it really useful before bed, especially if you have any sleep issues. Sometimes relaxing yoga can be very helpful to help quiet our mind from the day and stretch out and get rid of any kinks that we've built up. Yeah. Yeah, so the real answer is do what works best for you, and that might vary from day to day depending on what your needs are. It looks like there's one more question. I have a Morton neuroma on my left foot. How can I work around the neuroma? Yeah, I'm sorry. I had one. I had to get rid of my beloved Dansko shoes. But in terms of yoga, again, the standing postures, if you're finding that's aggravating, that may be something that you want to pay attention to and concentrate more on seated or supine on your back to give your feet a break. And then, is there a yoga class for osteoporosis? Yes, there is. There are a number of yoga classes for osteoporosis because there are precautions like that whole forward, like you can forward fold hinging, but you want to avoid the surrounding with osteoporosis. And there's some other poses that aren't great, but yoga is actually very beneficial for osteoporosis with those precautions. I don't have the link handy, but there is a physical therapist from Canada, Margaret Martin. And if you Google her, physical therapist, Margaret Martin, she has some excellent videos and blogs about yoga and osteoporosis. She's an osteoporosis specialist, so I highly recommend her. She knows her stuff. And then there's some other good people in the area, but that would be my one suggestion. So thank you for your great questions. And do we have anything else?
There's one more, just someone asking if there's a regular class for yoga or similar.
Well, there are many regular classes for yoga. I invite you to go and see what's on your community. And if you don't want to go out in the world into a yoga studio or fitness place, there are places online. And I gave you a couple of resources to take a look at. So I wish you all the very best. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for participating this evening.
Great, thank you, everybody.